passing, hip checking, ankle breaking from way downtown by a nose. Thumb sticking show you need to know. Welcome to the pregame.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us for the Pregame's 2015 Sports Game of the Year special. The Pregame is the official podcast of Box Score, where sports are always at the tip of your fingers. It's Wednesday, December 30th, 2015. The year's almost over. I'm your host, Colin Perkins, here along with your color commentator, Philip Stella.
Hey, everybody. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. All that stuff.
All of them. You missed Kwanzaa, I think. There's probably a couple others in there.
Yeah. Well, I said happy holidays. I kind of...
It captures them all.
Yes.
That's right.
I got to hear that at the store, actually.
Did you?
Quick story to interrupt your intro. Yeah.
Tell me about the holidays.
It was an awkward... I was walking away from... it was in Target in a line, and I had just checked out, and I was walking away, and the gentleman behind me, as I turned my back to start walking, he said, "Happy Holidays." I wasn't sure if he was talking to me or perhaps the checkout person, whatever. And so I kind of turned around, and he was looking at me. So I said the first thing that comes to my mind, which is Merry Christmas for me. And then as I turned to keep walking, I heard him tell the cashier, like, "I'm Jewish," and laughed. So he didn't exactly yell at me, but he kind of, and I was like, "Oh, well, should I say something?" No, never mind. I'm just going to walk to my car.
It's the sentiment that counts, right? I mean, anyway.
Yeah, like, probably out there right away.
We're different words, different beliefs, but they all kind of mean the same thing, right? I mean,
right. Like I almost wanted to say, "Oh, should I go back and say, well, okay, Happy Hanukkah." I didn't mean anything by it, but it was kind of funny. I came home and told my wife, and she got a good laugh about it. I was like, "He caught me by surprise."
I didn't know what to say.
I'm sorry. Like, if someone says Happy Hanukkah to me, I'll be like, "Oh, thanks. Merry Christmas." Whatever. Anyways, continue with your intro.
So the pregame, we are actually, in fact, a sports gaming show, and we're here to recap the year that was and bring you our favorite games of 2015. If you're not already part of Box Score, our sports gaming community, please check us out at boxscoregaming.com or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/boxscore. There you'll connect with other sports gamers. We are talking sports all the time. Before we dive into the show, why don't we take a couple minutes? We already got a little bit about what's up with Phil lately. What else have you been up to, Phil? Anything else through the holidays? You've been playing any sports games at all?
I have not touched any sports games at all over the holidays.
But you will be soon, right? Because you got a nice little package from was it from Santa or your wife? Or who was it from?
Yes, Santa Claus brought me a nice little package. I have now joined the Sony PlayStation 4 family.
Congratulations! Very nice, very nice. I applaud you.
Thank you, sir. We've talked about this and discussed this at some length, off air between us many times, and I'm excited. It opened some doors, and I'm excited to, which we'll get into later in the show. Play some upcoming titles, and yeah, Christmas was great. We both have small children, boys, and it's a fun time around the holidays at my house.
You had a Star Wars theme Christmas, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it was Star Wars, monster trucks, and Ninja Turtles, and
nice. Perfect.
It's kind of like the same as my childhood.
Well, who's buying the gifts, right?
Yeah, it is. It's kind of easy, really. I'm like, oh, cool. A package with a TIE fighter and a Millennium Falcon? Yeah.
I would love this if I was 3. Here you go.
There was some lightsabers,
So cool.
It was a good time. Very, very nice. Very nice holiday here.
Good, man. Good to hear. Yeah, we did. We do dual Christmas. So we did Christmas here at our place. My parents came up, and then we also drive up north to northern Minnesota, 4 hours up, and did a nice white Christmas with my wife's side of the family up there too. And my son, he'll be 2 in March, so he's getting to the point where he's he understands the toys and he can play with them. He didn't know what the packages meant. And he didn't really get super excited yet. So that'll probably come next year. But it was a lot of fun, and we got him like some crazy train, and I got him a little hockey set too. So because from Minnesota, so a little mini hockey set. So I'm excited about that. We'll see if he takes to it. So yeah, and then on the sports gaming front, I've been playing a little bit here and there. I still part of my Madden 16 league, so we finally got through our first Super Bowl, which I guess we were kind of slow because we played the preseason and all that sort of stuff, and maybe get a game or two in a week. But I ended up losing in the conference championships. My Browns lost to the Bills. Bills, yeah, I know. The person that the woman that owned the Bills is fantastic. She's real good, and I haven't played her before. So I was typically the style I play is I kind of play on the defensive and try to figure out what the other person's going to do. Yeah. And I just wasn't able to figure out what she was doing, and I had a turnover in the first half, and I was always playing from behind and just kind of crumbled from there. So she actually ended up going on to win the Super Bowl too. So I can at least say I lost to the Super Bowl champion.
You lost to the champ. Yeah, that's okay.
That's right.
It's better than losing to the non-champ.
Exactly. So still doing that. Played a little NHL 16 here and there. I feel like I'm going to start diving into that quite a bit more after the new year. A little bit of Rocket League. They got their hockey mode now. If you haven't played that hockey mode, it's pretty fun. I enjoy the soccer, the traditional game better, just because the physics are kind of funky with the hockey puck. And I didn't quite figure that out as much. It's cool to have that mode out there though. So played a little bit of that, and then I fired up Rory McIlroy, and then something came up, and then I couldn't play it. So I tried to play golf, but I did not.
That's and I actually lied. I have played a sports game since we've last met and talked.
Okay.
The wonderful viewers out there. I was in an NHL 15 season that I got to the playoffs with the Bruins, and I never finished it up.
Okay.
So I decided one day I was going to jump back on there and finish it up and go on to win the Stanley Cup in dominating fashion. So
did you do the 7-game series, the whole thing?
I did. I did the whole 9 yards. I even upped the length of the periods a little bit. And the difficulty's been up for me for some time. I got a little better at it.
Are you playing on All-Star or Superstar? Is pretty tough.
Yeah, it's not the highest one. It's the next one. So All-Star. Yeah,
that's plenty challenge because Superstar is kind of ridiculous. I think I probably mentioned it during a hockey show, but the previous games in the old generation, I was able to play in Superstar, like hardcore mode, and do pretty well. And in the newer games, it's just for whatever reason I haven't been able to figure out how to make it work in that difficulty. It's quite a bit harder.
Yeah, I even with the All-Star, like sometimes the goals from the other team are kind of ridiculous. I'm like, what? Like,
yeah, a lot of tips and like just soft goals that go through your goalie's leg.
Yeah, it's a little rough considering you'll work your ass off to get to somebody in the crease and get them open, and you'll miss the pass, or you'll completely whiff on the net or something. You're like, what? But yeah, anyway, yes, it was fun, and I finished that up. So I did do that.
Nice. You raised the cup, and I don't know. Do you remember if they changed the animations? I don't think they really changed the celebration at all at the end.
We never got there in 16, so I don't know. But in 15, yeah, it's.
Or I'm saying from the older generation games. I don't know if you played much of like the 360.
The last one I played, I believe, was like 09. So.
Okay.
Yeah, it had been.
It actually might be the same celebration. I don't think they changed much from the kind of that end game.
Most of those, like even in the football games, even in Madden, something as big as Madden, you'd think they do a little more at the end there. Mm-hmm. Just they don't do much.
They don't do enough. I don't think they
just kind of like go play another season.
Exactly. It's maybe like 30 seconds, maybe a minute, and then it's over with, and you're like, okay, like, can I get something? I mean, you probably pop an achievement, but that's about it.
I think it would be really cool to maybe after they do their celebration, their generic celebration, like throw in your team, and it's just so generic. They could do like a cool thing, like roll some of your highlights from the year, like some of the big plays from the year, something you might have forgotten you did, a month ago or something like that. Depending on how often you can play, or throw up some stats that you did or records or
like even
cool
some like fake interviews with your players or something like that. I think they just have you run onto the field and have your arms in the air and some confetti falling, and then it freezes.
That's it.
And then it cuts to the box score, and then okay, now let's go draft.
Yeah. It's like the Tecmo Bowl touchdown celebration, like frame in the air, like that's it.
Right.
Yeah. That's fun.
Well, we'll see. I'm sure they've heard plenty, but they only have so much time to fit new stuff in the game. But that would be a nice touch. Definitely a nice touch.
I vote for that.
Why don't we dive in? So we're here to talk Game of the Year, Sports Game of the Year from 2015. So let's do it. Let's dive in. It was a good year for sports games. Most of the sports games, I would say, got above average scores. At least all the major ones. Other than I guess NBA 2K's competitor NBA Live, that maybe got like a 60 some in the Metacritic score, but the vast majority of the major sports games that came out, the simulation style sports games, got good scores, and I think for the most part there weren't a ton of. I mean, overall everybody was pretty happy.
I was a little disappointed in Rory.
Oh, yep.
But it was still a solid game. If you wanted to play a golf, it's definitely there, and it's good enough that would be like, okay, yeah, I can play this.
Yeah, and it's actually added quite a bit. I mean, they said that they were going to add new courses and new golfers and new modes, and they have. So if you buy that game now at the end of the year, as opposed to July when it came out, you're going to get a much better experience.
Right. I think the only thing it failed to do was make me like it didn't capture me when I wasn't wanting to play golf. It didn't attract me to say, you know what, I need to play that game.
Yeah.
I didn't.
There's no hooks, right? There's no like Destiny hooks or whatever, like or the Ultimate Team hooks or whatever.
And we had fun. We played together, and we had a good time, and that was great. But again, was it worth the cost of admission out of the gate? No. Now it probably is definitely worth that if you're looking for a golf game. Yep. And to add on to what you said, I mean, it was a big year for sports games. I don't think there was many duds. Again, NBA Live, I think it was better this year than it was last year, or the last time they did it. They didn't do it last year, did they?
They did do 15. So there was a 15 and a 16.
Okay.
They didn't do it the year before.
Right.
They didn't do it 14.
So I did think it improved a little bit. And then what a good year for arcade sports games, right? Independent.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll talk about that in my top three. We'll talk about that. But yeah, there's some surprises for sure with Rocket League out there. That's really captured, a lot of sports fans, but a lot of non-sports fans were able to dive into that. Super accessible, a lot of fun, simple but yet complex. So they did a really good job with that.
And I have I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that I have not played Rocket League yet. But now that I have my PS4, I'm going to.
That's right. And it is coming to Xbox One for those of you that still only have one console. February or March, one of the two. Yeah, it's coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, I swear it was. I thought I remembered 6, but I thought it definitely said February, which is right around the corner.
But I played it on PC, and so it's and the nice thing is that you're actually playing against there's crossplay, so you're able to play against those PlayStation owners as well. But I do know, I've heard that the Xbox will be its own community. It won't have cross-platform, cross-play between the three.
Yeah, that stinks.
So that's too bad, but I'm sure there's some good reason.
Which is great. Xbox Live has a great community, so I don't. would you notice a difference? I don't know. If you had friends to play with on Xbox.
Yeah, there won't be as big a community, but the games are so short. They're 5 minutes on the clock. So they probably take just a couple more minutes longer than that. So I don't think we're having a problem getting a match or whatnot. So, why don't we dive into it? So number 3, we're just gonna do a list of 3 games. There's a lot of good games, but I feel like going through even a list of 5, you're just listing off every good sports game that came out this year. So we're gonna narrow it down a little bit, cut some of the fat. We'll alternate. We'll go snake style in our selections. Phil, what was your number 3 sports game of the year for 2015?
Number 3 sports game of the 2015 year would be the NHL 16.
Very nice. What did you like about it this year?
It was a little tighter. The controls felt a little better. I don't think it had enough to break the top 2 difference between 15, which is a very good game. So I'm not trying to knock it for that, but I scored my top 3 in what impressed me the most.
Mm-hmm.
And 16 was great, solid game. I love that. Yes, the new modes. I didn't get to play too much of those, and to be honest with you, I'm not the hockey player that dove into that stuff anyways. So even with 15, sure, I wasn't missing some of the modes that a lot of the hockey fans were.
So you're measuring it on the gameplay itself.
From what I experienced personally, what I experienced in the NHL, again, when we started doing this show earlier in the year, we had NHL 15, and that's what I've been playing. I hadn't played anything previous to that in a long time. So I didn't have much to compare it to that way. NHL 16 added some great things. I loved there's a name for it and I forget it now, but the actual shot tracker or the it kind of like that tutorial thing a little bit to show you kind of
those animations. I'm forgetting what they're called too, but the kind of on ice tracker or something like that.
And I remember when we talked about that, it was kind of something I was like, I don't like that. It got in my way, but the more I saw it and the more I liked using it at first, and then turned it off later. But it was nice to see how the game. You could see how the game mechanics and the game physics worked that way.
Yep,
it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that additional feedback element of it. I agree. The game was a lot tighter. Again, almost all the modes were added back in from the last generation game. So I felt like it was quite a nice upgrade from the previous year too. It didn't make my top 3. So my number 3 is Madden 16. So I played quite a bit of Madden 16 throughout the year. As I mentioned, I'm in my ongoing franchise mode, and the gameplay is quite a bit better than 15. They added all of the catching elements, so like the passing game. They've added a lot more nuances. You don't have to use them, but if you're an experienced Madden player, they're nice elements. They're nice gameplay elements to toy around with. Really make you feel like you have a little bit more control of what's going on in the field. I like the new UI, the new menus that they laid out and whatnot. It's quite a bit better, a lot cleaner. There's still a couple wonky things about the game here and there. So, for example, I'm one owner in my franchise league, and it gives you a nice selection of things to do, but they don't really tie together very nicely at the same time. Like if I make a change if I try to upgrade my stadium and then I try to go back in to see what else I can do after I make an upgrade, like it backs all the way back out to the menu, and then I have to go find my owner mode. Go down, I have to go find that area again. So it's like they've done a lot of nice things with that UI, but not everything is quite perfect yet. I thought fantasy or the draft champions mode is great, and now that they added back in, they added play a friend, that you can now draft your team and then use that to play someone rather than a random online. I think that's fantastic. Ultimate Team keeps getting better, and I feel like it's being more welcome from the traditional gamers. Like if I didn't do my online franchise with my friends, I probably wouldn't touch that mode very much. I'd be diving solely into Ultimate Team. So yeah, it's a really good package this year. It's definitely it's my number 3.
And so moving on to number 2, mine is Madden 16.
Okay, nice.
Because it impressed me. I won't reiterate all the great things you just said because I would say the same things. But it did impress me a lot how much I enjoyed the gameplay from 2015. I haven't played a ton of Madden like I normally would in the last couple of years, but hopefully now I will be able to join up with a league and play again next year.
Really hope in your PS4 you got some buddies that you can play with, right?
I have some buddies that have been doing it on PS4, and they've been talking to me about joining for a while. So now I will be able to do that. It's an incentive to jump back into the Madden, and that will be good for me. But yeah, it's my number 2 because of the way it impressed me. The gameplay mechanics, the physics improve every year. But this year, I don't know, it just felt clean. It felt the right way. It felt like the football game should feel, especially with all the things that you can do with the defense now. And like you said, the UI is really cool. How they have those graphics come in as you're playing the game, or when you score a touchdown, or there's just all these little things that they added that really make that game, nice touches to that game.
Yep, that presentation is really nice. They can do more, especially kind of on the pregame side of things. I feel like they need to. Hopefully, that's one of their focuses for this year. But a lot of all that in-game presentation is really nice. Definitely. So my number 2 is NBA 2K16. One of the best simulations. Well, so if I'm not going to give it away, but I'm going to give it away. It is the best sports simulation game in my opinion. So I didn't purchase it this year, but I did get the free weekend, and I think there was a trial at some point too. So I put in some decent time. I went through and played that Spike Lee, Living a Dream, Spike Lee joint, and I enjoyed the concept quite a bit. It was cheesy, it was cheesy, but the idea was pretty cool that they had this movie in the game, and you got to experience it, and you could. What you didn't necessarily affect what happened in the movie, and that's why I'm calling it a movie, because it is essentially just like play this game and then you get to see this cutscene no matter what it is. It's not necessarily like an RPG where depending on what you do, a new cutscene or different dialogue will come up. But just having that in the game, I really like where that's going. And then you have all of this great gameplay. The game continues to get better on the court. Not being a basketball guy, it's kind of hard for me to put the basketball game ahead of the NHL game, but the game is better, So and I love basketball. I'm just not an NBA guy. So they have the online modes, and now that the online works quite a bit better this year, and they've done a really good job of continuing to listen to fans, seeing what needs to be upgraded from the previous year, and pulling that all together in a nice new package.
Yeah, 2K's really put together a little bit of a dynasty when it comes to their NBA franchise, so that's cool to see.
Absolutely. So let's talk number 1, Phil. What would you say your number 1 sports game of the year 2015 was?
So much like you not giving it away, it's not a sports simulation game, and since I did not get to play Rocket League, or I have not played it yet, my number 1 sports game of the year is iDarb, because
yes, I love it.
So much fun. It was so much fun, and it was so different. Much like the aforementioned game I didn't get to play, which was Rocket League, which is getting great reviews everywhere. iDarb was great. It was so refreshing and fun, and I think everyone who played it, at least for a little while, they were just kind of like, wow, like, whoa, this is cool. This is really neat. I don't know what else to say besides it's just fun. Like it's
fun. Yeah, I kind of to build off what you were saying, it's like you put it in front of somebody And at first, like, what the hell is this?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And then once they play a game, or the first, it's been since February or whatever since I played it. Is it halves or is it quarters? I forget. But if you get a half in, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is great. I love this.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like a potato chip where you can't eat just one. You can't just play one game. Like you were like, oh no, let's play another one. I mean, the commentary in the game, the colors, the music,
that like NBA Jam type commentary. I love it.
the fact that you can actually, if you're like streaming the game, people on Twitch can actually affect your game.
Forgot about that.
That's just so cool. Yeah, that's my number one sports game of the year that I played. It's fantastic and fun. I haven't played it in a while, but it kind of like talking about it makes me kind of want to jump on there.
I know, me too. We should play up a game after this.
Yeah, I mean, it really it kind of captures your heart in a way that it's nostalgic. It feels good to play it with a buddy. I even though it's not couch co-op, it feels like couch co-op in a lot of ways. And it really, like I said, it kind of it captures your heart, especially if you were, a Nintendo, a Super Nintendo, or Sega fan that played sports games on those consoles. And then it just adds in this colorful twist. It's really cool. Really, really fun game. If you have not tried it, you got to try it. I mean, it's excellent.
You got to try it. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that game up, and I love that you gave it your number one because it is a lot of fun. And I feel like we sometimes lose that being sports gamers. We lose that fun element. It's like sports games are, I guess, thrilling, and they give you all this control, and there's a grind element, and you put so much of your heart and soul into it, but you're not always like laughing in sports games. Every once in a while something weird happens or whatnot.
The simulation of those other sports games is what you're looking for most of the time, because like you said, you're pouring yourself into the game, you're putting yourself into that position, so you take it seriously, especially if you're in an online franchise or something.
Exactly. So I'll stick with that arcade theme, and I'm gonna give my number one to Rocket League. I got it on my PC, and I got it I think I got it day one, so I got it a little bit before. I want to say PC came out a little bit before the PS4, the free version. So I was in there. I dove in right away, fell in love with it right away. I didn't play a lot of online games right away. I love the concept, but I went back to it after a little while, after I was getting all this publicity and all the PlayStation community was playing with each other. Dove back in, and it's just so much fun. It's a great concept. It's car soccer. That's what it is. But it's a simple concept, but there's all these little nuances and these gameplay elements that you need to really master to become good at it. And I can dive in, and I'm no slouch when it comes to sports games. I'm not the best, but I can go in and just get whooped. Or I can find my groove, and I can get hot, and I can grab a couple of online randoms that are decent, and we can roll a couple games. So it's so much fun. It's fresh. You can customize your car to I think I had like a pirate hat on at the end. And I'm looking forward to Xbox One version. So they keep coming out with this DLC that is
Warthogs.
Warthogs. That's right. I'm ready for my Halo Warthog. So they keep coming out with DLC. Back to the Future, they had one. They had, I think, 4 or 5 different DLC with new cars and new arenas and all that. So they keep supporting it. And I want to say, was it 8 million downloads that I saw last time? I mean, they've done really well for a small. Psyonix, I believe, is the studio. A small operation. And granted, this is the second iteration of the game. The first game, I'm forgetting the name. It was something like rocket powered cars playing soccer. It was like something more like literal. I think they knew they had a nice base game there. Had that little marketing spin at Rocket League and some improved gameplay, and it's really taken off. So I'm really glad to see that game. And it's gotten a lot of recognition. It's got some recognition from the Game Awards and a bunch of other game of the years, game of year recognitions out there. So they deserve it. I mean, you can say what you want about all the time that and all the manpower that are put into these other sports simulation games. Then you get this small little studio that comes in and just puts together a game that's tight and fun and wins a sports game of the year. I mean, that's great. That's an awesome story.
It's really cool, because, in one of our first shows that we did on the pregame, we talked about arcade sports games and how they're almost non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
And we were looking for even just a mode, like an arcade mode. We were talking about. And I'm drawing a complete blank right now. Mutant League Football.
Oh yeah.
NBA Jam. Yeah, we were talking about these games and where have games like this gone?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we have these? And I remember we did we did an argument. We did the debate on the simulation.
Yeah, that's right.
And look at where we're at. Both of us pick a basically an indie arcade for our sports game of the year,
Yep.
which is crazy.
Well, I think there's a market for it. I think they're coming back. I hope they're coming back. I think there's room for both, for the simulation and the arcades. It's just they have to approach it differently.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to more arcadey racing games.
Mm-hmm.
Please, for the love of God, somebody make, rock and roll racing like or RC Pro-Am or something like that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I'm all in, and I think the operative word for those games is, and for the people that love those games, is fun. You keep it fun, and people are going to play it.
The great thing about those games too is you have a bigger community, right? So there's a lot of people that don't really like sports in general, or sports games, and they're playing Rocket League, or they're playing IDARB. So it's because it's a really good game, and you don't have all these, all the complexities of the Maddens and the NBA 2Ks of the world, which are great games for what they are for the sports fan, but not necessarily for the casual. So that's one of the great things about those arcade games. They can really capture a larger audience.
Yeah. Again, I come to the word fun. I mean, if a game is fun, I don't care what genre it's in, I'm going to try it. You know what I mean? I'm going to play it. A game like our IDOB or Rocket League is something that you can pop in and just play for a little while and then turn off. And it's like that, you can just turn it off. Whereas a simulation game, you're kind of stuck for 20, 30, 40 minutes to an hour at least. And it's taken more seriously, which is great. That's the way it should be for those specific games. But it just offers the other side of sports, which is fun.
I mean, those Madden game, especially an online Madden game, we have recorders set to 8 minutes. So you're looking at an hour. You're looking at an hour. And Rocket League games are they're 5-minute games. So it takes right around 5-10 minutes to play that game, and you're in and out, and you want to play another one. So
yeah.
So anyway, that's our top three. Funny how we both came to the conclusion that the arcades were on top for us this year, even though there were so many great entries from the simulation side of things. I mean, it was a good year. It was a 7.5. It was an 8 year, I would say, from sports games.
I'll probably go as far as to say it's probably the best sports game year in the last at least 5 to 6 years.
You're probably right.
All the entries to the sports franchises were good. There's some years where we don't have very much improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Madden took another leap. I thought from Madden 25, Madden 15 was way improved, and it improved again and in good ways. NHL improved tremendously. NBA, like you said, 2K16 really
we didn't even talk about all the racing games. We did our whole series on racing. There are tons of racing games and a lot of good ones. And the wrestling game was good this year. So there was a lot. I mean, the quantity isn't there because there's not as much competition. There's not 2 wrestling games. There's 1 wrestling game. There's 2 basketball games, but that's about it. Everything else is just 1.
But I always take a sports game, and I don't compare. You can't, like you just said, you can't compare it to another sports game of the same genre. We used to be able to do that, but we can't do that anymore. But I take it and I compare it to its previous entry, like the last 3 years. How has this improved, or has it gotten worse in a lot of areas? And sometimes that happens. We've seen games step backwards before.
Yeah, no, but I agree with that. I mean, if you look back the last couple of years, I would much rather play this crop of sports games than, and not just because of the newer rosters. It's because of the game itself. I would much rather play this year's sports games than the last 2, 3, maybe 4 years. So that's a good point.
Visuals and, like you said, visuals and roster updates, which are always going to get a boost. And you take that out of the equation and you just say, okay, how do I like playing the game? And because it always comes down to that. Even with something with these games, they have a fresh coat of paint, and you're watching, especially something like Madden or FIFA or even the NHL has been gorgeous the last 2 years. You're watching these games and you're kind of taken back by how they look and how pretty they are. You're like, oh, I can see the shine off the helmet. Oh, it's cool. Look, you can see the reflection of the player on the ice. But after a game or two, that goes away, and then you're left with the game and the core of the game. What is the game? And that's what you get.
Yep, that's a good point. This year
in a great year
was great. So, well, that does it essentially. I mean, I want to talk a little bit about what we're looking forward to next year, and then we're going to wrap. So, we had a great sports year. I guess we had a great sport year. You convinced me. This was a great sports year.
Damn it. A lot of things shitty happened this year, right? But the sports games were great.
That's right. So what about next year? What are you looking forward to next year? We're not going to do an exhibition match like we usually. We're just going to talk about, all right, what are we looking forward to next year? Out of next year's crop of games, out of the simulation games, out of the sports games, are there any new entries that you want to come back? Is there anything out there that you don't want to come back? What are you looking forward to next year?
I'm interested to see where UFC goes.
2's coming out. It's March-ish, I think, maybe. Is it right?
I'm interested to see where it goes. The last entry was not without its flaws, but it was good. I used to be a huge MMA fan all around. I mean, I trained, I watched it all the time. I don't really do much of that anymore, but I still love the games. And I'm sorry, as much as MMA has kind of just taken over the combat sport, I would love a fight night. I would love to see it come back. I know that's kind of a different discussion, but I'm interested. I'm interested to see where UFC goes. I'm interested. I can't say that word at all. I want to see where the arcade sports go now that we have the iDarbs and we have the Rocket Leagues out there creating buzz and not only creating buzz but just being great games. I want to see where that genre goes. I want to see what we get, what kind of indie developer comes up with the next, gem.
Absolutely. Well, I think, they've seen, like I said, that Rocket League has made a lot of money. So I think developers are going to see that and say, hey, we can come up with a fun concept and, we can get into that, get a little of that Rocket League action.
I'd like to see a little bit more, innovation on the baseball front, arcade baseball front. I'd like more innovation on that. I know we've had some, but I want to see a little bit more. So that's what I'm looking forward to next year.
Nice. So yeah, I think we're gonna have another good year. We talked about it. You have essentially, if you're developing a sports game and it's an annual sports game, you have about 9 months probably to add some new, fun, cool things in there. So I think that all that's gonna come. I'm interested to see if I think Rory McIlroy and UFC are both going to be kind of these biannual, so every other year type releases. It will be interesting. I think a lot of the sports community is very interested in saying, okay, now you have these great games, right? You have these fantastic graphics. The game, the on the field play is really good. Can we look at doing like a sports game as a platform? You're buying, instead of buying every year, you're buying Madden. You're just buying Madden. And then, in 2016, 2017, 2018, you're buying the new roster and maybe, a couple little additions or something like that. But it's still kind of that base platform. So it'll be interesting to see if that happens this year or if we're still a couple of years away from that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think it's coming. I sense it's coming. I hope it's coming.
You're right. I think you're right in sensing it, young Padawan. But I really feel like because I think to do that, you'd really need the cloud gaming thing to come another step or two, because not only do we need roster updates, but the physics improvement every game, every installment is important. So if we can get some patches and things like that, that would possibly, these developers talk about basically improving the game on the fly and changing the game on the fly. Right. If we could do that through some cloud-based things, you're definitely onto something there.
I mean, the gameplay is real good. I mean, there's not a whole lot, I think. I mean, if you make a big list, there's probably a lot, but there's enough there that you could go a year or two, and maybe, I would love it if you gave a development team 3 years to work on a new Madden game. That would be awesome, because then you'd get a brand new experience. You're not getting
long run, right?
This same engine and then a couple things added that do improve the game, but it just feels like they could have done more. Give them a long time to create that sucker, and give us a game to buy now, and I'll buy the roster updates and I'll buy the couple additional game modes that you shove in there. But if you give me a solid game, I'll play that for a couple of years. I'm fine with that. I mean, we do that with every other genre. Why can't we do that with sports?
I mean, it's like a season pass type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I'm looking forward to that.
Season pass.
What was that?
I said quite literally a season pass.
It's perfect. The marketing just writes itself. It's fantastic.
I don't know where.
A couple of things I wrote down for next year. So Mutant Football League is coming back. It was Mutant League Football, but the same guy that created Mutant League Football is now creating Mutant Football League. I think it's coming out this year. I haven't heard much. I get the newsletter from them. Not a whole lot on the release front. I think they had wanted to release in January, but I haven't heard much. So I would imagine that's being pushed back. But it'd be fun to have an arcade football game back in the market that's not Blood Bowl, because Blood Bowl's it's a turn-based thing, and it's not. I mean, it's kind of football, but not really. So it'd be good to have that in the mix for 2016. And then VR. So there's been a lot of VR talk here towards the end of the year. With Oculus, and Game Informer did a really nice story on it towards the end of the year. VR sports games could be interesting. I mean, they'll be different, but it could be an interesting way to experience it. Have you thought about that at all, Phil? What you would want from a
I'm nervous.
VR?
I'm a little nervous for it, to be honest with you. I have thought about it. I'd like to see it, but I'd like to see it done slowly. I'd like to see it almost with the VR point of view, with a Wii style gameplay.
Okay.
I could play VR tennis or VR golf. Can I play VR football right away? That's going to really give me that. I don't know. We'll see. They've blown me away before, but I'd like to have something in my hand, some sort of controller, obviously, to do something. But I think if you could meld the kind of the original Wii with some VR, that would
that could be cool. I mean, there's so many. You look at the control scheme for hockey. Hockey's got a really ridiculous control scheme. Takes a while to get used to. You can't do that with just tilting your head, and I don't know. You could maybe do it with voice commands, but that would be tough too. I feel like you do need something in your hand. But what do you see then at that when you're in that VR experience? What are you in the first person view? I don't know. That could be kind of weird.
They had NFL 2K5, I believe, had a camera angle that you could be behind the face mask, and I loved the shit out of that. It was hard, but it was. So fun. Just to play a game or two like that was super cool. Now that would be really cool, but how do you do it? How
do you do it without having to be either the running back or quarterback too? To make it fun.
I don't know. Playing defense would be kind of cool.
That's true.
Who knows? I'm interested, like you said. Am I interested? Yes, I'm interested, but I'm also, a little nervous too.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. They're probably going to come out with like a tennis or bowling or something next year, And
it's a good way to start, I think.
Yep. And then build up to something more. It's going to be individual sports first, and then team sports will be down the road. So that'll be cool. So, we'll see what comes down the pike next year. I'm excited for another great sports gaming year. So yeah, we'll see what happens. That'll do it. I mean, we got one more day and the year is over.
Tomorrow's a big day, man. Tomorrow.
Are you doing anything for New Year's?
I got the Knowles playing tomorrow at noon. So
yes, that's right.
Play Peach Bowl.
Very nice. Who they got this year?
We're playing Houston.
Okay.
It's kind of
usually decent.
They're good. No, they're 12-1. So I mean,
they're just not sexy, right? They're not like
it's a lose-lose.
Playing Georgia or something, right?
Yeah, it's a lose-lose situation. It's like Northern Illinois a few years ago when we played them in the bowl game. It's like if we get beat, we're like, you're sorry. But if we win, it's like you're supposed to win. So it's not lose-lose for the university. Obviously, bowl games get you a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't have any plans for tomorrow. I think my wife and I are probably just gonna stay home and we'll get a couple of cocktails going, maybe some champagne, and we'll just watch the ball drop and celebrate in the house. Hopefully my son will be sleeping. I think he's awake right now. So, I mean,
it's
10 o'clock. Yeah.
I don't know how you do it. Well, that's good. So we're getting together with some friends every year. We get together, go to our friend's house, and there's probably like 6, 7, 8 couples that get together, and we all have kids now, so we're running around, and we've been sticking to an early bedtime, so we'll probably push it back a little bit, but we'll probably come back home and like you said, do a little champagne and cheers and just look forward to another good year. So it'll be good.
You go to bed and you can turn on your Xbox.
Exactly. Yeah, then I can sneak in some golf. When you go to bed, I'm going to go play with Roy.
Quiet.
That's right. Good quiet golf claps. Won't wake her up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Happy New Year to you.
Cool. You too, man. That too. Well, thanks for a good year. This was a lot of fun. I think hopefully you viewers enjoyed the pregame, and thanks for sticking with us. It was, Phil and I really enjoyed pulling this full year of the show together. It was great. Absolutely.
It's been a good time. We're going to be back next year with some new innovative stuff. So we'll keep everybody posted on Box Score. And thank you again to all the listeners and community members that have kept us going. Thank you, Colin, for inviting me to do this show. Here's to 2016, man.
That's right. Absolutely. Cool. Cheers, guys. Thanks a lot. Peace.
Bye.